number you have dialed is not in service at this time.
Welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. I'm Patrick Christiano, your host, the publisher of TheaterLife.com, a website for theater buffs covering all things theater. And we're coming to you from the LTV studio in Wainscott, where I have a very special guest, my new friend, Christiane Arbesu, a filmmaker and video production. She has her own video production company, and she's a very clever, interesting person. She's going to talk to us about a film that she made about her family when she went back to Cuba. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you
so much for coming. This is really fun to have you.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about what happened when Obama opened up Cuba and you were able to go back and visit your family.
Exactly that. Obama opened up relations in 2016. I actually was born in Montreal, so my three sisters were born in Cuba, and my parents had left in the early 60s for Canada. And
I still find it difficult to wrap my head around what your father had to do.
Yeah.
How he had to abandon everything that was important and grounding to him, go to a foreign country with your mother and your two sisters and make another life without his family or his beloved country.
Yeah. Well, I guess he chose freedom, from the communist rule. He had fought against the revolution and actually was working for Castro. And he decided that his politics no longer matched what they originally, he was going to be a socialist. So they left in 1962. And like many Cubans, he thought that he was going to be able to come back in 3 or 4 months. No one thought that Castro would be in power for like 59 years.
So you mean that was like a moment to moment when they actually left, they really thought they would come back?
Oh yes, so many people did. No one thought, if you ask people that left in the 50s and in the 60s, they'll all come back and pretty much state the same thing. No one expected it. He was the longest ruling communist to date.
Wow. Let's show our audience.
Okay, sure.
We have a trailer. We have a trailer for the film
do.
that she made.
Okay.
It's called I Am Arbesu. So let's have the trailer and we'll talk about it afterwards.
Great.
In 1962, a Cuban ambassador, his wife, and 3 young daughters sought political asylum in Canada. Between 1960 and 1974, more than 500,000 fled to the United States, separating families by politics and geography.
It is history in the making.
When President Obama opened relations with Cuba in 2016, I became the first Arbesu to visit Cuba and meet my family since my parents and 3 sisters left in 1962.
It's incredible. It's like an explosion of feelings. And yet it's so profoundly sad because we lost so much time. We only know each other old. We don't know what it's like to be young.
Yo creía que el gobierno de Cuba no iba a durar ni 3 meses. Por eso cuando llego a Montreal, ya yo tenía 3 hijas, pues no las pongo ni en la escuela. Porque yo digo, esto se va a caer, este gobierno, los americanos no van a permitir que los comunistas se cojan a Cuba.
Cuba is still a communist country. I Am Arbesu is the story of the reuniting of a family separated by politics and geography for 55 years.
This is my whole family. Well, most of my family. Look at this.
that you had the opportunity to actually go and do that. So many people never get an opportunity like that to reconnect with people once they've been lost.
Yes, very, very true. Very lucky that I'm in this business and that I'd never filmed before. So I went with a camera and a friend of mine, Mimi, who did my audio. And I was just very blessed to be able to go and record it. And what's so wonderful is that all of my family in Cuba, they have our story now, in film, recorded.
And we talked earlier about the power of telling your story and how when you really know your story, how you can live it and present it in a different kind of way, how it morphs and affects other people when you own that story is what I'm getting at.
Yes.
And did going down there, did that have that effect for you?
It did. Well, going there was full of so many surprises, and one of the biggest surprises is that my family, we have so many things in common without having ever met. We love of animals. We have the same animals. We have dachshunds, and that's pretty incredible. The food that we like to eat, the amount of
Did you
sugar.
know beforehand?
No, not at all.
about the
I didn't know
dachshunds?
anything. No, no.
You didn't know that
No.
everyone liked
And
dachshunds.
so many
and everyone
cousins.
had dachshunds.
No, so many of my cousins.
And you didn't learn this until you went there.
Until I went there.
Wow.
So,
and you have a dachshund now.
Yes, I grew up with them my whole life.
What's his name again?
Her name Daisy.
Daisy.
Little Daisy. But yeah, so I mean, just like little things. And of course, when I showed up, people were just blown away that I looked so much like my grandmother, like our grandmother, right? And I never knew her, so I had no idea. But just they'd say your hands, the movement, the way that you walk. And it's family. My mom used to always say, blood is thicker than water. And here I am. I walk into this country that I've never been to in my life. I meet all of these people that I've never met, and you just feel so comfortable, so at home, because it really is family. And there's nothing, you can't deny that. And you just, they loved me from the minute they met me, as I them. And I could see so much of myself and so much of my sisters in them as well.
When you set up the trip, how long preparation time did it take? Once you were given the green light to go, I mean, once Obama opened up,
Yep.
Is that when you first said, okay, I'm going to do this?
Yes, that's the
As soon
same
as you
day.
opened up, say, I'm going to go
Same
film
day.
my family.
Yep. And I went.
And
I
how
think
long? So once when you
that's a good
decided to
question.
when you actually landed on the plane, how much time was it?
That's a great question. I think it was about 3 months.
3 months.
about
And what
3
did you
months.
do in between?
Well, I called my friend and I said, do you want to go to Cuba with me? And she'd been before. She'd been a couple
who
of
was
years
your friend
earlier.
that went?
Mimi Gonzalez. Yes,
Okay.
she did the audio with me, and she's half Cuban. So
So should we go to the pictures and show the pictures?
Oh yeah, yeah,
at
yeah.
this
Let's
point?
show the pictures.
Because I think
yeah,
the
yeah,
first one
because
is
then you'll
Mimi,
see.
right?
No, it's Mimi, my cousin, and me, another Mimi. That was
Oh,
always
another
confusing.
Mimi.
Yes,
So
yeah,
I'm getting confused.
yeah.
Well, let's show the pictures one at a
Sure,
time because they kind
sure.
of document a little bit about her laying down
Okay.
the story. So this is
So
you.
that's I'm filming, I'm doing an interview, actually one of my first interviews, and that's my cousin Mimi. She was the first one that I met. That's my dad.
She met you at the airport?
She met me at the airport, and she's my dad's
And you look alike. You can see the
sisters.
resemblance.
Yeah, I think there's
I mean, she's
there's
not
a
as
bit
thin
of
as you are, but you could see her
Oh, you're
picture.
kind. Yeah, but yes. So that's how she was the first person I met, and she's terrific. Really, really wonderful. And I'm, so many times because it was my first time filming for like an extended period of time. I mean, the stress was crazy because I was like, oh my God, is it recording? Does it look good? But I managed. We pulled it off. We did it.
Okay, let's have the next picture.
Oh, that's Mafo. He was married to my aunt.
And he's in the film too?
He's in the film. He's Mimi's father.
Oh, okay.
And
not the Mimi.
Yes, the Mimi that you just saw. Yep.
Okay.
And he basically took me all around Cuba. And he's in that photo. He's about maybe 89 years old, and he could walk faster than I could.
And he's still alive,
it's really,
too?
No, he's
Oh.
not. No, he passed away, unfortunately. But he was very good friends with my dad. It's my dad's brother-in-law, ex-brother-in-law, because he's divorced. But we saw all of Cuba, all of Havana. He took me everywhere. Showed me where my dad was born, all the houses that my dad lived in. So it was just incredible, incredible. And trying to teach me how to dance. I'm a terrible dancer for a Cuban. It's unbelievable.
Okay. We can come back into the studio for a minute because when she talks about and after each picture we can come back to the studio because you're so expressive when you're talking about them. I want the audience to see your expressions and instead of stay in the picture so long.
Okay.
So let's have the next picture.
Okay. So this is more filming, and I really like this shot because you can see the newer car on the right, and in the background there you see the older car, which is really typical of Cuba.
And
right?
this is what the older cars are what you see all
Oh,
over?
all the time. Like 80%, 90% of the time.
80% of the cars
Yes.
are all
Yep.
old cars from like the 50s.
From the 50s.
80% of the cars
Yeah.
are from the 50s.
Yeah, and it's amazing. And they're really, the great thing about Cuba is that there's hardly any traffic because most people don't have cars. So it's fantastic.
And how do they get around?
By bus, public transportation, bicycle, yeah.
And is it good public transportation?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good public transportation, but I think things are breaking down. You know, they're old buses, everything is quite old. I believe a lot of the buses were, Russian buses, but they really do have difficulties now with getting parts and labor to fix stuff. But a lot of people use bikes. They also share those old cars, our taxis. So they do, it's kind of like Via and Uber. They were way ahead of the game. They were doing that back in 2016, even 20, 30 years ago, picking people up along the way, and you give them a couple of, 50 cents or something to get someplace.
And do you think they did that because they were forced to? They didn't
Oh,
have
yeah, no,
to.
forced
So
to.
necessity is the mother of
Exactly,
invention again.
absolutely,
Right.
absolutely.
Wow.
And that's what's so incredible about Cuba.
It's inherent in them, huh?
Totally, it has to be. It's their survival,
Mm-hmm.
right? They just reuse things. I saw my cousin had an iron from like the 30s that's still working. A washing machine that's about 40, 50 years old, a fridge. They literally know how to fix anything and everything. It's remarkable. The complete opposite of what we do, right, in America. Very disposable.
Yeah, we do have a pretty disposable.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's go on. We have some more pictures.
Okay,
too?
sure.
Let's-
Oh, so this is my, do I give it away, the story? But it's...
That's up to you.
Yeah, well, this is my uncle in Camagüey, my mother's brother. My mother was born in Camagüey. My dad is from Havana. So I went there and I found things that, I didn't expect that,
You didn't know
that
he
he
was
would be
still
alive.
alive, right?
No, I didn't know. And it was really
how old
quite
was he?
sad. About, at that time, maybe 89 years old. And hard, living in a really, really poor, rundown place. So, but I'm just so glad I got to meet him. Yeah.
I was really lucky to do this trip.
Yes.
Are there more pictures? Was that the last? Are there more?
I think is there?
Oh, yes.
Oh, and this is, on our travels, we drove from Havana to Camagüey, which is about a 6-hour car ride.
Wow.
And we would just meet families, and these guys are just fascinated with A, the laptop, and B, the photographs, how it works, and with the camera. So they were just
You can see it in their
just
expressions. the
incredible.
photo.
And I'm showing them pictures, actually. At that time, I'm showing them pictures of New York City, because they'd never seen a city. They're literally
They've
in
never
the
seen a
camp.
city. Wow.
No, they're in the real country. I don't think they'd even been to Havana, so that was pretty remarkable.
That is. You could see how enthused they are
Yeah.
about what you're doing. Is that the last picture? Do we have one more? Was that it? I guess that was the last
Oh, that's
one.
it?
So now your film has gone to how many film festivals?
I think about 22, maybe. So I submit them, and I've been really lucky to
And
get
you've
into.
won a few awards too.
I did. I
understand.
won a couple of awards. I did. Yes.
What do they give awards for? What kind of?
Oh, I think best documentary.
Best documentary.
Yes. Yeah, and best story. So I guess that kind of falls under that. It depends on which festival. But I've been lucky. It's played at a couple of the Latino film festivals, so I'm really happy about that.
And there's a chance, I understand, of my play in Sag Harbor. Is that right?
Oh, I hope
We're
so. That's
working on
what
it?
I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. That would be lovely.
Yeah, it seems like it's appropriate that it should be out here too. Yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So now, after the, will you follow this up? Is what I'm curious about.
Well, I would like to follow this up.
And see
Absolutely.
what's happened to all these people. So you'll go back.
Well, yes, I'm definitely going to go back. And what's interesting is my father had a sister and a brother, and another brother that died very young. But the two families that one family that I'd like to follow up, my uncle has 6 children. 3 of them live in Cuba, in Havana, and 3 moved to Miami. So I would really love to do a story that within the same family, you have 3 of the children still in Cuba and 3 in the United States.
And how their lives impacted differently.
Exactly. And what were the decisions that they made to leave? Did they leave because they were able to leave? Did they leave because they wanted to leave? What were the decisions behind their leaving? And what differences do they see living their lives in the States versus living in Cuba? Because they all left relatively, later in life, after their 50s. So I'd like to just know, what is that journey for them? Because so many Cubans have left Cuba for Miami.
Mm-hmm. So is this all you've ever done as film production, or did you come to it from some other field? I'm just curious.
Oh no, I've always been involved in video production and doing documentaries, but this is my first film that I've solely done on my own.
And so what was it that drew you to making film and putting stories on?
Oh, well, I think everyone has a story, as you said earlier, and I've always been interested in hearing where people come from. I think it's so important to know their past and what they've experienced, and I think that really gives you...
Shows your love of people.
Yeah, it's my love of people, yeah. And I do a lot of, stories on, we help people in the medical community to tell them about new drugs that are on the market. We do a lot of work for nonprofit organizations. I just feel it's so important to educate people, and I think the way that we can do that is by talking about ourselves and issues that we experience that people can relate to, if that makes any sense.
No, we shared this because I wrote a show called My Lessons for Dogs.
Right, that's
that I
right.
did at Guildhall, and I didn't really understand what I was doing when I was doing this. It was just, I had the motivation. I wanted to do this because the dogs had inspired me, and I saw something that had happened, and I kind of wanted to tell the story. And in the process of doing it, I realized that I was owning my journey in a way that I never earned it before. So once I owned it, when you go back there and revisit everything you did, and you see how everything came together in the process that happened, you understand so much more about yourself and why you do what you do.
I agree.
And
yes.
But it also makes you more accessible to being present in a way that brings you forward. So I think for people to tell their stories is one of the most valuable things you could possibly do for yourself and for other people who get to see what your struggles were. Because
I agree.
We all have, very few people understand I don't know what your challenges were, like you don't know what my challenges were, but when you hear my story and you see the things that I had to overcome to get to where I am, it can be inspiring. The same thing when you tell your story and you see what your father and your mother had to go through to be free.
Yes, right, because it was a big, absolutely. And then you get to understand.
But you own your freedom in a way that you never.
Yes, of course. Well, I took it for granted. I didn't realize till I went back.
That's what I'm saying.
Until I went there.
That's why I'm saying going
Yes.
back and reinvestigating
Yes.
your story and telling your story
Yes.
lets you own it in a way
Yes.
that is so profound for you and makes it imperative that you put it out in the world in a way that supports people in a positive kind of way. Once you know who you are, do you know where I'm going?
I do, because listen, it wasn't easy for me, for us going to Canada, immigrants, and my dad was blacklisted because he never ever spoke out against the government. So it was very difficult for him to find work. Our phones were tapped, and my mom had then 5 kids because I was born, and then my brother was born. And my dad went to Miami to find work, but ended up not coming back. They separated. But that whole immigrant experience is a really difficult one. They're in a country where they spoke very little English. I mean, thank God they did get to study at the university. They both have PhDs, but English wasn't their first language. And my mom, really managed to get us into the best schools. But it was always, sometimes I felt a little bit like an outsider because I had a Spanish-speaking mother. I'm always still surprised when I meet friends and I go to their houses and their parents don't speak with an accent, right? So I've only grown up with parents, speaking with heavy Spanish accents. And so also they have cousins. I didn't have any cousins. I didn't have any aunts. I didn't have any uncles. It was just us. It was my mom, my dad till he left, and my 4 siblings. That was it. So it was limited on some level, right, family-wise. But then it was also open to me. I had experiences that I don't think I would have had the same experiences had my parents not come from another country. And there was always a sense of longing for meeting that family and going to find out where my parents are from, because that would also help me understand, by knowing their story, right, I'd be able to understand them better. And it's only now, unfortunately, so many, 50-something years later, that I understand the difficulties that they must have endured in this country, having given up, as you said earlier, giving up everything that you know.
It's a remarkable story when you think about it, and you just let it be there for a moment.
Yeah.
And it resonates for so many of us, I think, in a lot of ways, because I think people get lost.
Yeah. It's a good grounding.
I
think it's a very good grounding to go back. And one of the good things that has come out of the film is that people do come up to me at the end of the film and they'll say, I want to go back to Greece. I want to go to Italy. I want to meet whatever cousins and whatever family I have left.
And these are people that probably never thought about it before, too?
I think, I don't know. Yeah, no, some say they haven't, and others say, oh my God, I've been dragging my feet. You know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to book that ticket and I'm going to go and I'm going to find out. Yeah, and some people exactly never thought about it, and then they just realize, oh my God, it's so important. Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming and sharing this and doing this with us. But you have a company too, your production company, and you do a lot of things with people out here too. So tell us about some of the things you've done.
Okay.
It'd be nice to hear it too.
Sure. The company is called Terrebonne Productions, and we do a lot of fundraising videos. We did 3 virtual fundraisers, 2 for the Ellen Hermanson Foundation.
You did them recently?
Yes, that one was done in March, and I did one last summer. And I did summer one for the Southampton Hospital. And we also just finished videotaping a concert at Guildhall in conjunction with Ola, which is a great, it was the Latin Moon. It was a Latino-based band, and they also had American bands playing, so it was a really good melding together. That was actually May 28th.
Just recently?
Just recently.
And now when you film something like that, where does it go and what do they do with it?
Well, that was, I don't know if Guildhall is putting it on their website, but I think Ola is going to be, I know that Minerva Perez, she's the executive director of Ola, posted it on Facebook, which is great, so people can share it and have a look at it. It's a really, really good concert that they did.
And do you have more things coming up in the future that you're going to be doing that you want to share with us at this point?
I don't know what's going. Well, a couple of things I can't share, but
a
couple are with like
things you can't share.
yes. A couple of things are with pharmaceutical companies. I do some work with mental health, and which is good. Yeah, it's a bit heavy, but good because it really does.
I know.
It lets people share their stories. And I'm actually going to be working on a new documentary. So
what is
hopefully,
that going to be?
Well, I think it might be another Cuba Part 2. But I haven't
the
been
one
able
you mean
to.
What I've just been delving into already?
Yes, and I really haven't been able to do much because of the pandemic. But now that things are opening up, once it opens up, I really would love to get back to Cuba and do some filming there.
And are you going to do this story, the one that we just talked about?
I
about
think
the
so.
Family that went to
Yes, half in Miami, right, and then the other half still in Havana. So, yeah, and we'll see. I never quite know till I'm there, like what I'm going to get and what stories I'm going to hear, and then that kind of just leads me on to.
That's the most exciting part of the process, isn't
yes.
it? That that in any moment you might go in.
Right.
Thinking you're going to do this and decide because of what happens, I'm going to do something
completely different.
Or if you stay open to, I can change my mind anytime. You just change your mind 100 times before you actually land on the place that you're going to stay. It makes it a lot of fun, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, you never know what you're going to get, right? So
you don't know what this might be yet?
I'm not sure what it's going to be yet.
You have an idea, though?
I do have an idea. I know at least I'm going back. So.
Did you set a date yet?
No, not yet, not yet. I'm just waiting to see what happens. Probably in a couple of months, you know. I don't want to go at the height of the summer because it's so hot.
So when's the best
January.
time to go to Cuba?
I think for me, because I'm not crazy about the heat, I think January.
Well, that's what I
probably.
meant. That's why I was talking about it for me.
So
When-
January, February, March, it's still nice. It's not that oppressive heat. You know, I stay away from, you know, the summer months. But maybe even by November, December, it starts getting a bit cooler. I mean, by cool, I mean it's like 80 degrees.
But are there places to stay in hotels?
Oh
and things
yes,
like
there's
that?
there's absolutely.
So it's really
I'll
opened
set
up
you
to
up.
that to-
Yes,
You'll
yes,
set-
because for a lot of Canadians go there, right, and Europeans, it's very open
And
to
how are
Europe.
they with the vaccine down there now? in Cuba?
They're getting it. That's why I'm not going. Not until the vaccine. I think it has been rolled out, but last I spoke to one of my cousins, they're doing it by district. So it's not necessarily by age. So I think maybe by the end of July, everyone should have their vaccination in Havana.
Mhm. Oh, cool.
So
Cool.
they
Wonderful.
are doing it. Yeah.
So we have about a minute left.
Okay.
Is there anything else you want to share with the audience before we go off? Anything else you want to tell us that was insightful or?
Oh, just, you know, if people want to watch my film,
Oh,
it's
how do
at,
they find it?
I actually have it at LTV. It's on video on demand on Channel 20, and it's I Am Arbesu.
Oh, so we have
So-
it here.
Yep, you guys
So
should have
you
it
can
here.
come to LTV and watch it on demand. I Am Arbesu, Christiane Arbesu's film
Yeah.
about her family's departure from Cuba and her return there, and how it affected her a little bit.
Yeah.
Christiane, thank you so much.
Thank
for
you
coming to
so
do
much.
This. It's been a pleasure getting to know you. I feel like I have a
Yeah.
new friend.
Yes, me too.
Especially since we love dogs.
Yes, we do. We do. Yes.
And we love storytelling too.
Absolutely.
So we have a few things in common.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you so much.